else can I choose? None other than Julian Dicks, the Terminator. My word, that guy made such an impact on me personally as a West Ham fan. From the moment he re-signed back to West Ham with that shaved bulldog look, I remember getting in trouble from my mum for shaving my head just because I wanted to look like Julian. I wanted to actually have a new middle name and call myself Julian. That guy just meant so much to West Ham and to me personally. I was a defender, as was he, a left back. And what a left back he was. You know, it's funny, you look at all the modern day fullbacks now who attack and charge, and for not being the most lightweight defender, he did that in abundance. He was always forward and he was always capable of unleashing that left foot rocket. And one of the games that comes to mind is that game against Tottenham at home, 4-3, that we won, being 1-0 down, rising up for that bullet header, assisting the goal for John Hartson, and of course when it's 3-3, the penalty, and he just smashed that ball, absolutely destroyed the net, and sent us fans into euphoria of joy and just amazing. What an amazing defender. I believe he scored double figures for 2 seasons at West Ham. Obviously he was the penalty taker king, and my word, how we miss a guy like that in the changing room, who you think would tear the players to shreds when they don't perform. So yeah, Julian Dicks for me, no brainer, best defender in my era, my favourite defender for West Ham.
Hey all, my favourite West Ham defender, yeah, in the centre, well, it's a toss-up between Alvin Martin and Billy Bonds, actually. And whilst Billy Bonds wasn't always there, but that's from my era, I would go for Billy Bonds as my favourite. Just overall presence, overall leadership, everything. He had it all, could play in different positions, but just a great man, and one of the fans' favourites, and certainly one of my all-time favourites as well. So for me, Billy Bonds, best defender.
My favourite West Ham defender, of course, the obvious answer is Bobby Moore. For pretty much any West Ham fan, Billy Bonds. But in terms of my lifetime, I'm going to go with James Collins. Of course, we've had some really decent defenders over the years that have gone on to play for their countries and have achieved some amazing things. But in terms of just who he was, how much he meant to the club, how much he loved the club, I think James Collins, just because of the man that he was, you know, his commitment in every single game that he played, and you could just tell when he scored a goal for West Ham, it meant the world to him. And you know, it was a privilege watching someone like Ginge play for West Ham, and I think he kind of epitomizes what it means to play for West Ham. And you know, the fans really fed on that energy that he gave to us. Obviously, he had a spell at Villa in between, but even in his second spell at West Ham, he was loved equally as much as he was in his first spell. You know, and it's those type of players that make you proud to support West Ham. So I think in terms of his attributes and who he was on and off the pitch, James Collins.
My favourite defender at West Ham, for me, it's Bobby Moore. I was fortunate enough to see him play his first game for West Ham, and then to go on to see him in the 64 season, 64-65, picking up the FA Cup and then on to win the European Cup Winners' Cup. It was, I say, a privilege to go and be able to be there at those games. For me, he was an immaculate defender. He had the ability to read the game, be able to put a pass right to the feet or right to the head, particularly someone like Jeff Hurst. And he demonstrated that in game after game after game, and occasionally scored some great goals as well. He was an immaculately turned out guy as an individual, and he then translated that across onto the pitch. He wasn't your rough and tumble defender that you see it sometimes, and he wasn't nasty in any way, shape or form. He just was a fantastic reader of the game. And the best testament to that is obviously Pele. When you see that tackle that he did on Pele in the World Cup, it was just a fantastic manoeuvre where he was able to read the forward and pounce at the right time without any force or anything, but just actually taking the ball from the player like that. He did that many, many times for West Ham. So that's my main reason. Followed him from the beginning, loved watching him over the years, loved it when he was England captain, loved it when we won the World Cup and him lifting that as well. I was privileged enough to be at the Royal Garden, Kensington, to see him go out onto the balcony there. That was brilliant. So West Ham defender, for me, Bobby Moore.
For someone who's a defender, McDowell and Lampard were around. Ray Stewart and Lampard, Alvin Martin, Dixie. Yeah, if I had to go for a defender, it would have to be Julian Dicks. I just think his swashbuckling attitude, the way he was able to score crackers, the way he was able to G up the team, the way he was able to thump home penalties. Yeah, if you had to ask me who my defender of the decades has been, I'd have to go for Julian Dicks.
My favourite West Ham defender has probably got to be Winston Reid. It's quite a hard decision because we've not had that many good defenders over the years. And James Collins is definitely up there as well, but I think Winston Reid, because when he was signed in 2010, no one knew anything really about him. He scored at the 2010 World Cup, and I think that West Ham just thought, oh well, we'll advertise that as much as we can. We'll say he's a well-renowned international defender who represented his country fantastically at the local tournament, at the recent tournament. And everyone was like, oh, who's this player going to be then? You know, someone we know. And then it was just Winston Reid from New Zealand. And everyone was a bit like, oh, okay, all right then. But since he came to the club, he was like a breath of fresh air. He was solid. He's been solid. He's been a rock hard defender. And he scored some important goals for us over the years, namely the Millwall volley, which would always go down in folklore, and of course the last ever goal at Upton Park. And he's just been a great servant to the club. He's been unfortunate with injuries over the last few years, and it's probably why he's had to go out on loan to get some game time or whatever. But he's always been there and thereabouts at West Ham. He's never really had a poor game either, and he's always been quite, solid at the back and reliable and dependable. So I think it has to be Winston Reid. I can't really think of anyone else, to be fair, that comes to mind, or I think that fondly of, apart from obviously Collins and maybe a couple of others I'm just forgetting. But yeah, for me, Winston Reid.
Just back again with my West Ham's favourite defender, and for me, it's got to be the man himself, Terminator, Julian Dicks. It has to be, man. Tank of a left foot, just absolutely insane left foot. My dad was saying that just watch how he plays, just watch what he gives on the pitch every single time. And then from there, as a young kid, I was just mesmerised about just, he was just hard as nails, just no nonsense. He just gave everything. Like, he was just tough dude, man. And he just so, like, you could tell, like, the players around him, like, how much, like, respect, like, they give this guy. His presence as well, he's just like, it was an intimidating player, but like, you could tell why, like, the guy was just an absolute just menace, man. He just gave everything on the pitch. He was just throwing himself about, just tackles left, right, like, just his ability to, like, look at his ability, for his passing ability as well, just the way he was just getting up and down the pitch. It was impressive, man. I'm so glad that West Ham had a player like him, man. Just seriously, man. I wish we could have, like him, like now, like, but obviously with what's going on, But like I said, wish we had like the passion of Julian Dicks. Let's be honest, man.